Cheers and salutations. Welcome, everybody, to Hardlands Media. We are live and direct, and huge shout out to our CAN TV audience. If you want to learn more about Hardlands Media, please follow us on all of our social media, YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Kick. And, we got ourselves a New Jersey green tidal wave coming our way. And I want to give a huge shout out to my guests, as well as to the New Jersey Green Party, because right now they are working hard, or working double time to get all of their candidates on the ballot. But as we all know, especially in this day and age, no matter what state it is, blue or red, third parties are usually silenced and suppressed by the two-party system. And joining us here, he is running for the 5th Congressional District in the great state of New Jersey. Beau, Fotre, thank you so much for joining us. I was told already right off the bat that you have not only one hell of a story to tell about your opponent, but overall your fight to get on the ballot for the 5th Congressional District. Because I definitely want to keep this story about your opponent near the middle part. So let's start off things simple with an appetizer. Tell us a little bit about who you are, why you're running in the Green Party, and why you're choosing to run during this election cycle.
Sure. First and foremost, thank you for having me on, Kit. My name is Beau Fotre. I'm running for Congress in New Jersey's 5th District, which is our northernmost district in the state, runs along the New York border, makes kind of an L, and then runs down the Delaware River a little bit, border on the Poconos, Pennsylvania. What was the other part of that question, Kid? I'm sorry.
No problem. Why are you running in the Green Party? Why are you running during this election cycle? I mean, let's face it right now. We haven't seen this much attack towards third parties and independents before. Yes, they've been smeared and slandered, but, right now I've never seen it get this bad to where third parties are being absolutely vilified by the Democratic Party, most notably because there's independent candidates running against Joe Biden. But why are you choosing to run? Why are you running in the Green Party?
So that's twofold. The first is the story that we'll get into in a minute. Also, my father, who passed away in October.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Young guy, 72, but originally got sick in 2007. I was his only child. I am his only child, and I was medical proxy for over 10 years. I was his power of attorney for a long time. So, I really got to see from the front row how horrible our medical system is right now, how desperately it needs changing. At the end of his life, he saw the last few months that everything this guy saved. Now, he was a single father, and he did pretty well for himself and really took care of his boy. But in the end, he saw day by day, he could see chunks of everything he saved just deplete because of our healthcare system. I mean, Medicare he had supplements behind that, which, are basically scams, these Part Bs and these private plans that come in to try to back up Medicare. We found out that the hard way that they really don't do too much. Our experiences in and out of rehab centers every time he would, either when he got his kidney transplant. I'll get into the story of what happened to him, actually, and you could cut me off. I'll try to shorten it as best I can.
No, please. I think a lot of people need to hear this story because, look, I recently lost my grandfather last year in February of 2023. This is important because our healthcare system is absolutely pathetic. So I apologize for cutting you off. Please continue on because this is a story that we have to hear. Please go ahead.
Sure. So in 2007, he got a really crazy strep infection. Long story short, it made his intestine burst, which put him septic. He really wasn't supposed to survive that in 2007. I mean, I was actually told by the surgeon after they did emergency surgery, you need to prepare your family because we don't think he's going to make it through the day. He rallied, he came back, he was in a coma for 2 months. Finally, they said it was because he was relatively young when this happened. He was 57, and he was able to heal better. But, in the end, he came through it almost unscathed, except he had renal failure. So for the first few years, he was doing dialysis 3 times a day, which is brutal. And then finally, a deceased donor came up, and he got the transplant. Now, everyone in the family had offered him this kidney, and he wouldn't take it. I mean, this is the kind of guy he was. So he's like, I'm on a list. When the deceased owner comes up, then hopefully we get something, which he did. And the last 4 years of his life were really pretty good until he got hit by a car in 2021, which in a parking lot, not a big deal. An older gentleman, bumped him, probably doing 5-10 miles an hour, but it was enough to knock him over. And he discovered that he had really compressed discs, really calcified compressed discs in his neck. And they gave him the worst option you could give someone. They said, listen, you either need to have surgery on your neck, and anything could happen with that, or it looks like you could be paralyzed in 2 years. So, I mean, we knew after all he had been through, another surgery could be a death sentence. But, the thought of paralysis basically is a death sentence for a lot of people, especially him, especially when you're in your 70s and you're going to have to live like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So he had the surgery, and that was the end. I mean, the last 3 months of his life after the surgery, we were in a rehab center. He never recovered. And what it came down to, so here's where this really got disgusting. These rehab centers, first and foremost, I don't know if you've ever had to deal with one, but they're like the step down from the hospital. So once you're done with your hospital stay, they send you a rehab center, which is supposed to give you OT, PT, continue your nursing, and get you on your feet to get home. The moment you go to these places, especially the ones that double as long-term healthcare facilities, nursing homes, they immediately try to talk you into, transitioning from the rehab portion to the long-term care facility. And we knew that was not what we were there for, but, and then they'll try to get you off certain Medicare plans. They'll tell you have to drop things so that you can have this fully covered by your supplement. It's a scam. I don't know if recently you've been seeing in New Jersey, but there's been a slew of stories regarding, people that don't have a lot of advocates, and they wind up in these rehab centers, and they're claiming that, on a lot of drugs, the rehab center is making them sign papers where they basically sign away everything they own. And by the time they get out of the rehab center, they come home to a shell of a house or no home at all.
So then let me take a wild shot here. Let me guess that some of these rehab centers, or either that the facilities that own them, be it corporations or other entities, have their connections towards the political parties in New Jersey, which is why they're got maybe a shield wall or a phalanx protecting them so that no one can legally come after them. Am I on the mark, or am I missing something here? Please elaborate.
I'm not going to tell you I could say you're on the mark with proof, but I think that anyone who has any common sense at all could, trace those dots and see how these places get away with doing what they do.
I want to give a shout out to Angel Rivera. He's one of the hosts of Indie News Network. He's from New Jersey. He says, yes, I'm in New Jersey, and this has been a major problem. So, I've trusted INN. They've done some great work, but obviously, look, we all know about political corruption. You got to prove it. But in this day and age, we need to have a strong sense of smell. So I'm going to just ask this question out here. So in regards to your running with the Green Party, you're more in favor of where they stand for health care in comparison than with the great Republican Party or the honorable Democratic Party. Am I in the mark for that one?
You bet. I mean, I feel like universal health care always needs to be on the ballot. Unfortunately, where I'm running, the Democratic incumbent has been on the record as saying, universal health care, nobody wants that. That's socialism. It's Bernie Sanders, and nobody wants it. And that's the Democrat. So I'm pretty sure that the Republican who gets the nomination next month will not be in favor of universal health care either, even though 65% last I saw of the nation wants universal health care in some way. So,
So look, obviously, knowing the Green Party, you are running on their policy platform. Yes. But I think so far, especially from what I've heard, and I actually told you to stop with your story before we went live. But from what I've heard from my contact from the New Jersey Green Party, because they've been helping us get a lot of people from the Green Party in New Jersey on our show, to which, hey, I'm happy to promote their parties. Obviously, you have an interesting struggle and fight with your incumbent. You've had a previous interaction with them. So without any interruptions, I might ask an additional question here and there. Please start from the beginning. Who is the incumbent, and what's your fantastic history with them? And if for all my viewing audience members, if you're watching, I hope you have popcorn. Take it away.
Sure. So the incumbent is Josh Gottheimer. Anyone that's reasonably politically astute would know that he has become one of the more powerful Democrats in the party. He's one of their biggest fundraisers. He's, completely funded by either AIPAC or the health insurance lobby, the PBA, a lot of the worst possible lobbyists that you could think of. So there was a time, and let's go back to about, I'm going to guess 2019. And I keep getting this organization's name wrong. I believe that they are the Sunrise Network or the Sun. I don't know.
There's the Sunrise Movement, I believe.
The Sunrise Movement, it could be, yes. And they held a protest at his home over climate change, over a lot of his positions, with the oil industry and every other corporation he's in bed with. But a couple of them got arrested. It was a peaceful protest where a few people wound up being on his lawn and wouldn't leave, I guess. I don't really remember the story. But the next day in the paper, it was written in the Bergen Record, which is the big paper here in North Jersey. Mm-hmm. And, it's not like, Josh could have said something like, yeah, this was wrong. There's a time and place to protest. It shouldn't be at my home. But instead, he comes out and says something ridiculous like, oh, yeah, my wife and children, they feared for their safety. And, these people were bullies. And if you ever met anyone in this group, I've only met a couple of the people that are in it. They're young kids. They're very left wing. They'd be what some people would consider hippies. These are not threatening people, and they were arrested for stepping on your lawn. So, for him to go over the line like that and attack 18-year-old kids, it really pissed me off. I sent them an email that was really nasty that night saying, and the thing they focused on was at the end of this, where I said, if your wife was really that concerned about her safety, maybe she can borrow the bulletproof vest that you wore when you were in Patterson. Now, there's a total backstory to that where he went to Bill Pasquale's 80th birthday party and it showed up in a bulletproof vest at a bar in Patterson, and everybody made fun of him. And apparently the owner of the bar, who's one of the Passaic County commissioners, threw him out for wearing it. He was so offended by it.
Wow.
So, the party for Bill Pasquale didn't go well for Josh Gottheimer is basically the point. He made a fool of himself. And, I ripped him on that a lot of times, like when he would have these quote unquote telephone town halls that he liked to do. You would call into it, you'd be on the town hall, you'd listen to him speak, and then there'd supposedly be a way you hit a number and you'd go into a queue and try to ask a question. The screener would ask, what's your question? And then say, well, maybe he'll get to you, maybe he won't. So every question was pre-screened, but I would always go in and my question would be, is it true he wore this bulletproof vest in Patterson? To the point where like the screener would even be like, that's really the question you want to ask? I'm like, yeah, that's really. Yeah. He's a public official. I want to know if he's too afraid to go to Patterson without having some type of body armor on. And, they never called on me, but, it was a known thing. So for him to point that out, he just used an excuse. That night, I'm with my kids. I'm having dinner. I don't even remember that I sent this email. I get a call from the Capitol Police. And I'm like,
wait, what? The Capitol Police decided to call you?
Yeah.
While you're having dinner with your family. Okay, great. What did our fantastic Capitol Police have to say to you,
I kind of felt bad because, this is what they're wasting their time with. So I explained to him what the reference to the bulletproof vest meant. And he's like, okay, I didn't know that. I understand now. He goes, just do me a favor. When you write letters like these, just be careful because of September, the whole, everything that's going on. But this was before the Trump insurrection or all those people did that to the Capitol, whatever you want to call it. But there was a judge in Jersey, I think in 2018, who someone came to her door and killed her son and shot her husband. So, people were still on pretty high alert for instances like that. But I explained to him what the reference was and he understood and he said, be careful. You can send all the letters you want. Just, be careful. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I was careful, but okay. And it really bothered me. Overnight, I really stewed on this. I was like, wow, this guy never responds to any email I ever send him. And the first one he responds, it's through the Capitol Police. He's putting me on their radar. I'm a regular guy. I don't have a criminal record. I pay my taxes. I have a family. What a jerk. That's a nice way to say it. So then the next day, I send him another email. And at the time, I was on the Passaic County Democratic Committee. So it's not like I'm Joe Citizen sending these. He's aware of who I am, and he was aware of who I was before this because I sent him a lot of emails. I got in the Passaic County Committee. One of the reasons was specifically to stop this guy. So anyway, I send another nasty email, and again, I forget about it. And listen, it was juvenile. It was nasty. I called him a few names. I could show you the emails if you want. They're really nothing that bad. And I forget about it. And now Christmas, New Year's, and this is all through dealing with my father too. So I'm probably a little on edge. I'm already not the happiest guy every day.
It's understandable. I have been through. I think anybody that's been dealing with the loss of a loved one, I mean, it's inevitable. We all do eventually bury things we love, and it takes a toll. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, no. And this was before we lost him. This is as we were really dealing with a serious health issue. So
right.
Anyway, couple months go by, and I just get a letter in the mail one day from the Bergen County Superior Court. And I'm like, I wonder what this is. Did I forget to pay a parking ticket? I don't know. I open it up, and it's a discovery form. It's signed by Josh Gottheimer, and it says that I've been charged with harassment and this and that. And it shows the 2 emails. And I'm like, man. So instantly, I think, because I get,
Are you serious? So okay. So in other words, you get a discovery, and Josh Gottheimer is just coming after you. I butchered his last name. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's easy to
butcher. but he comes after you just because you're asking these simple questions. Okay, I get it. All right. Wow.
So here's the thing. Instantly, I think, all right. I told my friends this story about the Capitol Police calling me. We're a bunch of ball busters. There's some pretty smart guys in my crew. Did somebody finagle this to break my chops? Because I always thought these things would usually come certified anyway, not through the regular mail.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. I'm like, you know what? Let me call the court clerk in Wyckoff, because it said that it got moved from the municipality that he filed it to Bergen Superior because he had a conflict. He knew the judge or the prosecutor or both, so they had to kick it to a higher court. So I call the court clerk in Wyckoff, and I said, listen, is this for real? Do you know anything about this? And she immediately gets in like this ultimate apologetic tone, and she's like, yeah, unfortunately, this is real. And she goes on to tell me, he's a baby. I can't believe he did this. I would never vote for him. You'd never hear a court clerk say things like that. So, I mean, instantly I know it's real, but I also know it's nonsense. But I'm scared. I've never been charged with a criminal crime. I read the emails over and over. I'm like, what could this be about? They're not even specifically saying what in the email is the crime, so on and so forth. So fast forward, we have our first hearing. I find out Linda Schwager is the prosecutor. At the time, I didn't know who she was. She was the mayor of Oakland. And after the first hearing, she's really belligerent to me. Like usually you'd say to a prosecutor, hey, listen, we both kind of know this is nonsense, right? Are you going to dismiss this? But no. She came after me like she was his mother. I mean, there was no discussion of a dismissal. There was no, this was just all I kept hearing from her was this was an abysmal letter and you should be ashamed of yourself. Things that a prosecutor, ashamed of myself. Like, we're talking here. We're not even in front of the judge. Why are you putting on this show? This isn't that bad. So she was so ridiculous that it made me think, let me look into who is Linda Schwager. And boom, there she is in commercials endorsing Josh. She's the Democratic mayor of Oakland. He actually went to Oakland the day she won and swore her in, which Congress people don't do for everybody. I mean, they were friends.
George Collins, right? It's one big club.
It's one club. It's one big club. And we have a Democratic chair in Passaic County who also ran for the state. His name is John Curry. And, when I went into the county committee, I started attacking him, saying, I'm here because this is so corrupt, blah, blah, blah. So they all knew who I was. And they seized on an opportunity to probably come after me, make me shell out $5 to $10 grand for a lawyer and, hurt a working guy. Because that would hurt me. If I got to pay 10 grand for a lawyer, that out of nowhere, that I don't know who that wouldn't hurt a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So long, I didn't even lawyer up. This was and I do not recommend that to anybody. If you're charged with a crime, please get a lawyer. But in this case, I just felt like it was so ridiculous. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of making me pay for a lawyer. I'm going to fight this myself. And if I win, I'm going to make him really look stupid. So I wrote my own motion to dismiss. Once I found out who she was, I said to the judge she should recuse herself. She went on this crazy diatribe of how she's Jewish and her husband is Jewish, and she thought that I would go after the crazy stuff that she was saying to the judge. She has a mezuzah on her door. Maybe I know that because, there was no religion was not even in the discovery. These emails had nothing to do with religion. But she's coming after me. She called me anti-Semitic. I mean, all this crazy stuff. Oh yeah, and she's representing the state. So this is where you could get in a lot of trouble. I mean, you know, on the record, someone calls you an anti-Semite in court representing any state. That could hurt your life. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
especially in this day and age with the internet and how people just overreact on emotions. Yeah, man, I understand.
crazy stuff.
So continue on with this fight, because right now you got me at the edge of my seat, man.
So we go through all these hearings. Every time I wanted to make a motion to have her taken off the case, we had to have a new hearing to go over the motions. Every time I wanted to write a motion to dismiss, we had to have a new hearing to do that, to submit the motions. Then, you know, at one point, he gave me 30 days to write my motion to dismiss. He's like, I'll give you 30 days and then we'll reconvene. Right as soon as we're about to log off of that hearing, Prosecutor Schwager pops up and says, oh, I just want to let you know, I got a call late last night. We may have more evidence for the discovery. So now I'm surprised, but I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So the judge tells her, get that to Mr. Fotre ASAP, because he's got to write his motion. He can't write a complete motion unless he sees the complete discovery. We log off. Right away after we log off, I send her an email saying, okay, Ms. Schwager, whatever you have, please get it to me so I can prepare my motion and know all the facts. I don't hear anything back for about 4 days. And I have these emails documented. I send her another email. I say, Ms. Schwager, it's been a few days. If you have anything else, please, I'd like to start my motion so it's in on time, blah, blah, blah. Then I go 2 weeks and I don't hear anything. So now we're getting really into the time I have to fill out this motion. With about 9 days left, I send her another email. I'm like, Ms. Schwager, you know, please let me know if there's no other evidence or if you have anything, because now I only have less than 10 days to submit my motion. I don't even know what I'm doing. I've never written a legal motion. So, you know, I got a lot to do here. Please give me everything you have.
Go ahead.
She sends back an email that was just off the rails crazy. She's like, listen, I sent you everything I have. If there's nothing else, that means I don't have anything else. Listen, you know, you're supposed to send me discovery too, and you never did. And she gets off on that. It's this crazy letter. And I'm like, so I just reply, I'm like, okay, so you never had any more evidence and you had no intention of getting more, but you're just trying to delay me. So good job. It worked. Thank you. I'm going to write my motion. Here we go. I write my motion. We go to the hearing. And he reads it and he goes, okay, now Ms. Schwager has, you know, I have to give her 10 days to respond. We're going to reconvene. Here's the motion. Long story short, she's supposed to get 10 days to respond. Our next hearing wasn't for like 8 weeks. She didn't have to respond for like 8 weeks. So, and her response, I should have sent this to you so you could show it. Her response is, again, just a crazy, he's anti-Semitic. He talks about Josh's Israeli friends. It made me scared, you know, all this crazy stuff. And I'm convinced if this was like a real case where this wasn't all staged, this would have been thrown out before it even began. But here we are at like the 6th hearing. And finally, you know, the judge apparently knows that this is getting crazy. He schedules the trial. A week before the trial, I get informed that Linda Schwager recused herself. Even though he said that, you know, there was no real, nothing in the law where he could remove her. So he's going to leave it up to her. And she said, I will not recuse myself. A week before the trial. Now we're like 9 months into this thing, 10 months into this thing. We've had hearings. A week before she's done. She assigns this new guy who says to me, he goes, listen, Beau, there's nothing in this discovery that we have no case. I said, so because I can't do that. I can't make the other prosecutor. It would look really bad on her if I just dismissed it now. So we have to go to trial. It gives me a week to try to gain any more evidence, which I will not gain. He goes, let's see if Josh shows up to the trial. And if that's the case, then I have a witness and we go forward. I said, great. All right. He was really actually okay about it. Like you could see immediately he knew this, what trash this was. So get to the day of the trial, and I'm actually excited because I'm thinking to myself, wow, if Josh shows up, he's putting himself in a position where he's going to have to take the stand and be under oath and be questioned by an angry constituent. So this is great. Okay. Right. So you're hoping he shows up.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Who saw that coming? Everyone
he,
probably did.
He did send a personal letter to the judge, which had to get copied to the prosecutor and me.
Okay.
And he signed it himself, where he said, Judge, I don't want to say his name because I don't know if I should. I really wanted to testify today, but unfortunately I wasn't informed of this until real late in the game, and I can't make it, and so on and so forth. Can we please get another, advancement on the trial? So I said no. And the judge, in the middle of this, he holds up a certified signed receipt that shows that Josh got informed of this trial a month earlier, and he signed the letter personally. So for him to now come and say he wasn't informed, now listen, I'm sure a congressman, he's a busy guy, whatever, maybe, but don't come in and tell everybody nobody told you until 3 days ago. And then I'll give you a little postscript.
Beau, I want to hear the postscript, but look, Beau, I mean, look, here's the relative truth about these politicians in Washington, D.C. They're not serious people.
No,
they're not smart people. They're scumbags who do a lot of insider trading. When you get time out of your day, check out Unusual Whales, and you'll find out what the fantastic members of the United States Senate and House on how much insider trading they're doing, because that's all what they care about: insider trading and profiteering. So let's hear this final note, because I definitely want to talk about your campaign and getting ballot access and signatures too.
Sure. The last thing was, I looked into his social media, and why he couldn't be there that day was because he went to a candy store to campaign, which was 10 minutes away from the courthouse.
Oh, how convenient. It's 10 minutes away. I can't get there. Get out of here. People in New Jersey. Listen, hold on. I got to call out all the people in New Jersey. Beau, don't get upset with me, man. No. People in New Jersey. Why aren't you busting that guy's balls, Tony Soprano, Soprano style? Why aren't you people in New Jersey, all of you, come on. What's wrong with you? That Josh guy, 10 minutes away from the courthouse, signs a letter, pretends he wasn't even there. Are you kidding me? Someone get the gabagool on this dude. Come on, New Jersey. Come on, New Jersey.
Unfortunately, I would bet that Josh makes a lot of money for the local Tony Soprano, so probably a big part of his game.
Well,
I don't know that for a fact. I don't want to.
We're just joking here. Joking here. So one hell of a story. So your opponent, you're trying to unseat him, and I wish you all the best. But let's be very clear here. New Jersey, very similar to Illinois, has a long, sad history of political corruption and ballots disappearing and votes disappearing. It's shockingly for me. I like to think Illinois is the world heavyweight champion. New Jersey, quit trying to come after our belt after all. But nonetheless, what kind of problems or situations that you have to deal with in regards to getting ballot signatures, ballot access? Will there be a debate with your opponent if that's in the works? What does the ground game look like for your campaign right now? And how can people help? Do you have any events that are coming up that you would like to promote?
No, I have no events, but at this point, I would like to hear from people who would like to volunteer for this campaign. They can email me at beau4congress@gmail.com. We are about to get running real soon. I do have a political advisor committee that I've hired, and I'm kind of going with what they're saying. They want this to be a stealth campaign. They really want me to be extremely quiet until the day that the ballot is official and I'm on it. So, even though we're doing these podcasts, they're giving me a little leeway and a little rope to kind of quietly get the word out. I've gone to local colleges. So, I'm getting the word out enough. And to be honest with you, I've always been a little bit of a blowhard, which is why I had that situation with Josh in the first place. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. So, but I am going to kind of lean on what I'm being told by professionals to keep it quiet and then come out really swinging when the day is when we're ready for that day, when we're on the ballot, when there is no challenge to anything. And if I could just go back to what you're saying regarding getting signatures, it's kind of a funny thing. Everyone's very worried about it. It's a hard thing to do. You got to get out there and work and do it. The reason that I'm not so worried about it, even though I'm not completely home yet, is I've done it for about 2 or 3 hours. And when anybody hears that Josh has an opponent, they are very happy to sign my petition, no matter what I stand for or what I do. It's really pretty amazing. So when we're talking about corruption, this guy doesn't win this district very easily. Every time he wins, he wins it anywhere from 55-45 to 53-47. It's a very wealthy district. It's traditionally a very Republican district. So, it's not going to take much to make him afraid. Now, in terms of having a debate with him, how much I would love that. I would bet you that the incumbent right now, Josh Gottheimer, is going to ignore this campaign for as long as he can until we give him a reason where he can't.
So in regards to that, have you been building a coalition with other groups or organizations that would like to help you out for your 5th congressional district run? I mean, let's be clear here. 50% of Americans identify themselves as independents, and now more than ever, people want to have another voice, another option to support. So what does that look like? And if so, I mean, obviously when you start getting your campaign more out there, which I do advise, like, hey, if anything, if I had to say something to you about your campaign, like the more podcasts that maybe you show up on that goes for all the Greens in New Jersey, the better your chances, because then more eyeballs are sent onto your campaign, and then people want to help, because there's a growing disdain for Democratic politicians and Republican politicians. And if 2016 was, in my opinion, the year to capitalize on, 2024 should not be the year where third parties just dismiss the growing anger. And I think, the more attention you're getting there. So are you reaching out to other groups, other coalitions? Like what does that look like for your campaign?
I am. And I got to be honest, it's been a little disappointing to this point. It's been a slow go. I've reached out to progressive politicians locally. Someone who actually ran against Gottheimer in 20 and was just a magnificent Democratic candidate. Believe it or not, we don't get a lot of magnificent Democratic candidates these days, but she was. I've reached out to organizations. I get the feeling that I'm not going to get a lot of play until I'm officially on the ballot.
Okay. And how many ballot signatures do you have to get for your district? Because it might vary from district to district, or New Jersey has different state laws. So what does that look like so far for you?
It's actually pretty simple. I will give New Jersey a little bit of a plug. We only need 100 signatures from people, within the district that are registered to vote. And they could not have signed another congressional petition prior. So 100 is, we could do that in one day. That's why I'm not that concerned with that.
I would, if anything, just hear me out on this one. Maybe I'm a little bit traumatized by Illinois politics and my interactions with the Illinois Libertarians and the Illinois Greens. They have to get like tens of thousands of signatures because it's rough here in my state. But I would recommend maybe shooting higher than 100.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my goal is 300-400.
Okay, done deal. But even that, shoot. Boost up those numbers. So as a final note, because we do have to continue on the rest of our main show, obviously here's your campaign website. When I clip this interview, I'll be posting a link there in the comments section and in the description box. But where else can people find you? Obviously, you have an Instagram, X account, YouTube, and TikTok. Hey, Joe Biden's coming after TikTok. So where else can people go? And is there anything else you want to promote for the New Jersey Green Party?
Well, I think that they need to take a look at everybody in the Green Party that's running. We are trying to come up with a Green 13, which would mean we'd have a candidate in every congressional district as well as the Senate seat. Christina Khalil is a great Senate candidate. But yeah, look at us all. I mean, the great thing about the Green Party is we reflect the general public. We look a lot like you. We struggle to pay our bills. We know how hard it is to make ends meet. Give us a look. It's long overdue that we have some regular working people with regular backgrounds and went through their own challenges to get to where we are today in the seats of power. And, people who want to say to me, well, you got to have an Ivy League degree and so on and so forth. Listen, we've been electing born wealthy, connected people for a long time. How you living? Let's give something else a try.
You know something, Beau, I hope to have you back on the show. And honestly, I do want to see you guys. I want to see third parties. In my ideal perspective, obviously, voter turnout's key. Third parties to overwhelmingly succeed and give the Democratic Party and Republican Party PTSD for the rest of their lives for all eternity, because I despise the two-party system. So, Beau, obviously, this has been a fun interview. Never expected this showdown with Josh, and with our mutual contact in the Green Party, they said, hey, heads up, Beau's got a hell of a story. I wasn't ready for it, but 10 out of 10, great way to start off my morning show. So I want to thank you so much for being on our show. Audience, mandatory thumbs up, and all the best to you on your campaign for the 5th Congressional District in New Jersey. This interview will be clipped and be shown on Sunday on our YouTube page as well as our other social media accounts. So everyone, please be sure to give it a like. And nonetheless, thank you so much for your time. And we're going to be continuing with the rest of our morning show, folks. We're going to take a short break.
Thank you, Kit.
Absolutely. All the best.
What you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. And we say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away. When home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last, where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, 'cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.